Here we are.
Recording in progress.
Oh, that's not what I want. Let's turn that off. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. Happy Monday. Man, I can feel the energy starting to shift with everybody, both here in the groups, or here and in the groups that I'm running. And as we sort of what feels like hurdle towards the end of the year, everyone is feeling this heightened energy, and some people are feeling it in a positive, excited, connected sense, and some of it people are feeling it in an overwhelmed, can't keep up, sort of underlying level of stress sense. And some people are feeling it in this, I don't want to feel this, it doesn't feel good to me, I feel completely disconnected sense. These are all phases of the nervous system, like we talked about a couple of weeks ago. People are really starting to feel different levels of their nervous system connection, activation, and shutdown. So I just wanted to remind you that this is a shared experience that many, many people experience around this time of year over the holidays, both with the weather changing, the holidays looming, a new year coming, a different chapter opening, that kind of thing. We start to feel that, I don't even want to use the word discomfort, but we start to feel it differently in our systems. It may feel like discomfort for you. It may feel like connection for you. It may feel like shutdown for you. But the key is to start to become aware of it. Okay, I won't stay there for long today. You can check out the nervous system work we did. I believe it was days, I'll get the days wrong, but it was a couple of weeks ago in this Healthy for the Holidays series. I think it was days 1 through 5 even. I think it was days 1 through 5. I might have that wrong, but go back and check where the nervous system work is. I believe it was that first week that we did. Man, it's already been a few weeks now. We're in week 4 of the Healthy for the Holidays series. So this week we are talking about radical responsibility, and there's a couple of different there's a couple of different ideas that fall under this big umbrella of radical responsibility that I want to introduce to you this week, especially as it pertains to your health and wellness goals. Of course, we are in the holiday season. Many of you well, each of you has their own unique lens through which you are looking at your health goals over the holiday season. Some of you are, you know what, I don't have time for that. I don't want to deal with that right now, and you're going to pick it back up some other time. Some of you are still being very intentional and managing and monitoring your food. I'm very intentional over the holidays. As I mentioned, I think it was, well, in a video last week, I mentioned your biology doesn't take a break over the holidays. So it doesn't know that that you're celebrating whatever holiday you're celebrating. It reacts to the inputs and outputs in the same way that it does any other day. And so for me, it's just really natural to be pretty normal. I don't want to say normal, but pretty intentional, pretty consistent is the word that we're going to talk about today. Pretty consistent with my behaviors, just like I am any other time of year. That's not a punishment. It's not a restriction. It doesn't mean I'm not enjoying myself, but it means that I'm really intentional with my behaviors. So in the spirit of radical responsibility, I want to explain what that really means. I don't know that there's an actual definition for radical responsibility. I've heard it many, many times from mentors or in some of my training books for various therapeutic trainings I've taken. I don't know that there's an agreed upon definition of radical responsibility. So my understanding and my definition of radical responsibility is truly this concept that we have the opportunity, the invitation to take responsibility, not blame. This is very important, not blame or fault, but responsibility for all of the experiences we have in our lives, inside, outside, and between others. Inside our emotional environment, outside our external environment, and between us and others. We have the invitation, we have the opportunity to take radical responsibility for all of our situations. Now, if you're already feeling yourself triggered going, excuse me, that's not my fault. I didn't do that. My mom said that to me, and that's why I feel this way. And my sister did that to me, and that's why I feel this way. And my job is doing this to me, and that's why I feel this way. You, my loving friend, are exactly who I'm talking to, okay? Because what I said in the very beginning, I am not talking about blame. It is not your fault. It was not your fault. It may not have been your intention. But once a situation has presented itself in your life, it is the opportunity for you to take responsibility. It is my responsibility for how I deal with, manage, react, interact with everything in my life. Okay. Radical responsibility is the invitation to look at everything in your life as if you have agency and you have the responsibility for whatever it is that you have going on, your circumstances, what you see called outpictured in front of you, whatever you have in your life, your circumstances, the people, the career, the job, the money, the body, the weight, all of it, right? Everything outpictured in your life is your responsibility, meaning you had some agency, some thread of influence in that outcome, okay? That's the overall lens of our topics this week. I'm going to talk about interpretation of events, radical responsibility when it comes to reacting or responding to events. But today I'm going to start talking about consistency. Consistency in the form of self-integrity. Now, I've actually been talking about this topic a lot in my groups and individually with my clients because last week was habits, right? Last week was habits week. And this topic of consistency and commitment to self-integrity falls right on the heels of habits, right? Last week we talked about what are you in the habit of doing or not doing? In fact, that's all we are. We are a compilation of all of our habits, things that we are in the habit of doing or things that we are in the habit of not doing. And if you are someone who is in the habit of not being what's called self-integral, and an example of this might be, you say you're going to go to the gym 3 times a week, but you rarely ever get there. You say you're going to drink a certain amount of water a day, but you rarely ever do it. You say you want to, I don't know, eat in a certain caloric range, but you're always finding yourself outside of it. If you are someone who is in the habit of not keeping your commitments to yourself, this is one of the most common areas where that will show up, is in your health and wellness goals. Now, don't get me wrong. This is a gross oversimplification of really all of the things that we've been talking about up until this point. Remember, we started off with the nervous system in week 1, right? We started off, actually, I think in week 1, now it's coming back to me, the progression of our weeks. Week 1, I set up the holidays and kind of the challenge that faces all of us over the holidays. Week 2 was the nervous system. So videos 5 through 10 were the nervous system. And the nervous system absolutely is a, what's the word I'm looking for? The nervous system absolutely cues us into behaviors, right? So the nervous system has an impact on the decisions we make and the behaviors that we engage in. So yes, that's a piece of it. Our habits also play into whether or not we do what we say we're going to do. I trained you all on that all last week, right? So videos, 11 through 15 were all on habits. Yes, what type of food you're eating, if it's ultra processed food, which we'll spend a week on, that also has an impact on how much food you eat, what type of food you eat, and when you stop eating. There are a lot of things that impact your consistency and commitment. However, sometimes your lack of commitment and responsibility to yourself is a big driver of this, right? And so instead of continuing to just set goals, I'm going to not eat sugar, but then I do. I'm going to drink my water, but then I don't. I say I'm going to go to the gym, but then I don't. Instead of just continuing to set goals, we need to look at becoming the type of person who keeps their commitments to themselves. And this is a muscle that we need to flex. Now, that's why I taught you about habits last week, because if you need to get in the habit of doing what you say you're going to do, if that's the habit that you need to get into, this is a great week to start to practice that. We started habits last week. This is a great week to start to practice that. And we can do that with small things. Remember, in Habits Week, easy to do things that are easily accessible to us, that our brain can do really easy, helps to cement that foundation for what we want to accomplish. So if you are someone who is in the habit of not keeping your commitments to yourself, I highly suggest you starting to practice that this week. Where can you practice being a person, not completing a goal? Where can you practice being a person who keeps their commitments to yourself? This could be as simple as I will tell my children that I'm proud of them or that I love them every single day this week. I will kiss my partner hello every single day this week. I will, whatever it is. These do not have to be big monumental things. The point of them are so that you can practice becoming the type of person who is very self-integral, who keeps their word to themselves. This is what I see over and over again in my groups, is that many of my clients are really, really good at keeping their commitments to other people. Work commitments, commitments to children, commitments to friends, spouses, partners, families, whatever you want to call it. But when it comes to keeping the commitments to themselves, it's easy to push them down, put them to the back burner. Those things become almost frivolous, right? Oh, if I get around to it, I'll do that for myself, or I couldn't burden someone for, by doing that for myself, or if I have time, I will make myself a priority. And one of the things that I teach pretty emphatically is that if you want to meet your health and wellness goals, especially, you have to move to the top of your priority list. And one of the things that I believe very, very strongly in is that the better we take care of ourselves, put ourselves first, move ourselves to the top, the better we are able to take care of everyone around us. So when you move yourself to the top of the priority list, everyone around you benefits. When you have put yourself at the middle or the bottom of your priority list, everyone around you suffers. So in that way, it's a selfish thing to do, to martyr yourself and say everyone else's needs come before my own, because you have less energy to give. You are from a energetic and vibrational cup, you are not filled up. You are more frustrated. You have less patience for people. You are, you have more, oftentimes you have more symptoms of anxiety and depression. All of these things happen when you do not put yourself at the top of your priority list. So in that way, the others around you suffer when you refuse to put yourself to the top of the list, because you felt like someone else was more important, or it was selfish to do that. You see how that's a bit of a paradox. So we're starting off the week of radical responsibility by saying, have you put yourself at the top of your priority list? And are you someone who completes the commitments you make to yourself? Are you someone who is committed to doing what you say you are going to do? If not, can you start to cement that habit today, this week, of I am someone who keeps the commitments I make to myself by very small things, small, actionable, easy to accomplish steps that will then teach you I am a person who is capable of keeping the commitments I make to myself. You move to the top of your priority list, you start keeping the commitments you make to yourself. All right, and we're going to continue to spend the rest of the week on why I think radical responsibility is so incredibly important. Good to see you all. We will see you here tomorrow.